Farming to me is a way of life, a way of making a living on the land, a way of helping protect the land. It's very much grounded in a place for me, this farm, this location. So it's all those things wrapped together and being a great place to raise a family. And it's sort of a community thing too. There's more and more people around us that are doing similar types of farming, and so you start building community in the same time.
I've heard other people say this too, but it's just really true. It's like the perfect balance between science and art. I have a pretty analytical mind, and I like trying to work out systems, and I like planning things out on spreadsheets, and I like the kind of management aspect of it, but then the art comes in when you start working in the weather and the soils and the wildlife and all these other things that you can't control, and then you have to adapt. And I love that.
So initially when I started kind of on the path of gardening, I thought I would be a garden educator. So I did more work focused on adult and youth education and kind of like large garden settings. And then I had the opportunity to do the apprenticeship program in Santa Cruz. And then that program, I kind of had my first time working on a larger farm. They have a 10-acre farm there, and I just loved it. I loved the order and the straight rows. And the manager that I worked under had a really special relationship with the farm, and I just felt super inspired by her.
I would say that I didn't really feel like I was an established farmer until about 6 years into being a farmer. I think that's when I felt confident to be sort of interacting with other farmers that I always looked up to. Or I think a good example is Tane, my partner Tane, and I both worked at 47th Avenue Farm, which is a pretty prominent CSA in the area, and our boss was Laura Masterson, and we always felt like she was a really fantastic mentor. And just a few years back, we started to feel more like peers, and I think that's when I felt like we were actually farmers, when we felt like peers with people that we had considered mentors.
The way that farmers have trained farmers has been happening, in the same way for probably since farming started, which is passing knowledge from one generation to the next. It's a very sort of old world apprenticeship, internship model that we're trying to emulate. But we live in the modern world where there's laws and regulations and rules and such, and so there was a time early in my tenure at Rogue Farm Corps where the idea of internships and apprenticeships on farms was in jeopardy because of the legal consequences that farmers were facing. The short story of the long is that in order to have somebody apprentice or intern on your farm, in a legal sense, it has to be a structured educational program. Without that, you run pretty serious risks of violating a number of different employment laws. I think that's one of the bigger values that we provide now, and one of the biggest ways that we support the farming community is we've helped create this sort of legal framework and this model for education that hopefully can continue for a long time with less risk for the farmers.
I am the Rogue Valley Chapter Coordinator for Rogue Farm Corps. So I oversee the interns and apprentices that come through and are placed in the Rogue Valley Chapter. I work with the host farmers down there and help them to create their on-farm curriculum. So that's the skill set that they're teaching throughout the course of the season during the on-farm training portion. And then I coordinate the additional educational programming. So we offer a series of classes and farm tours over the course of the season. So I work with local farmers and other agricultural professionals to put together that class series and decide what farms we're going to visit on the tours. And we also do potlucks and discussion groups, so kind of coordinate all of that. And then just kind of, I'm like the shepherd of the interns as they come through the season. So I help with placement. All of the chapter coordinators around the state help with, accepting and taking applicants as they come in, and then getting them placed onto a farm that matches up with their interests.
And the opportunities are here. We have farms across the state of Oregon that want to bring people onto their land and have them be a part of what they're doing and teach them so that they can go out and do that for themselves. So it's here. We just need people who want to come and join into that process and to understand that, yeah, it might take a while. It might be a multiple year thing, but what happens in return and the way that your life adjusts and to live with the seasons and have rest in the winter and have life begin again in the spring and go through the fruition process of the summer and then, the harvest and the settling down in the fall. It's a beautiful thing to be a part of and to contribute to this world and to your community. And it's here. You can do it.